Hi, I'm Zohn Lascott, here to tell you a bit about my divine energy transmissions. It all began in 1986 when I studied polarity for a year in New York City. Polarity, in case you don't know, is deep tissue work with pressure points, which I never really resonated to, but I had a knowing that that was a very important course for me to take. It was somewhere in the middle of the course that we were instructed finally to work in the etheric body. And then after the instruction, we pair off with a partner and we work on each other. While I was working on Maya, a very amazing thing happened. It was a turning point for me in my life. When I was in the etheric body, which was an inch away from her body, she began screaming and literally crying from pain. She looked down and she said, "I can't believe it, you're not even touching my body." And then I would go to touch her body for the deep tissue because we were supposed to work back and forth, and nothing would happen. Then I would go into the etheric body, and then there it was again, the intense pain. So that was the first big aha moment that I had that changed everything for me. Then I had my very first client at the end of that year, a woman who was suffering from lung cancer. She had a few tumors that were not responding to chemotherapy, so we went for that. One of the interesting things that I learned at that time was that if she had just come from chemotherapy, all of the chemo would just drain out of her through my session. And that's when I learned to understand that this work also has a detoxing quality to it. And then those resistant tumors left. Then I moved to southern Arizona, and I began facilitating some sessions there. By the way, you may be wondering why I'm actually working on someone while I'm talking to you, because aren't I supposed to be quiet and in a meditative state for the work to actually take hold? Well, that's when I learned in southern Arizona that it was not necessarily the case. Because I was in a saloon having a beer, and this man told me that he had torn the ligaments in his foot, and he was in excruciating pain, and could I help him? And I said, well, buy me a beer and sling that foot on my lap and let's give it a go. Well, within about 10 to 15 minutes at the most, the throbbing stopped. And he told me later that I did one more subsequent session, and he told me that about a third of the healing time was reduced as a result of the healing. I've had a lot of other very interesting experiences. Another woman at that time, she worked for me, and she had very severe menstrual cramps. So I said, let's have a session, which we did, and within 10 to 15 minutes they were gone. Then she told me later, when she went to her gynecologist, that her fibroid tumors were also gone. Then she called me another time and said she needed to go to work and she had the flu, and could I help her? And I said, I don't really know, but let's give it a try. And within a short period of time, the flu just flew. It got pulled out of her. The aches and pains, the fever, the tight chest, everything that goes along with the flu. Now, I've also done remote work with people. It all began when I was on the phone with someone when I was living in Sweden, and she told me during the conversation that she had a really bad headache. So I said, would you like a little energy for that? And she said, sure. And so within a minute, it was gone. Another time, I also did, talking about headaches. I had a friend I was meeting for lunch, and she told me that she was beginning a migraine, and that she had, she was blind in one eye from it, but she was such a trooper. She said, let me get my glasses, my sunglasses, and it'll be fine. I said, oh, come on, Molly, let's just do a quick healing, which I did. And she wouldn't let me do more than about 5 minutes. So it wasn't completely done, but within a half hour, she was fine. The very next day, I called a friend. I was guided to call a friend when I was at the car wash. And she said that she was at the beginning of a very long, intense migraine that usually lasted 12 to 14 hours. So I said, you know, it worked on Molly yesterday in person, let's just do it over the phone. Well, it took about 20 minutes for that one, but then it was gone. And that was quite amazing. I also do group sessions. And I work on one person as I'm working on Yolanda. And everyone in the group gets it in their own unique way. One woman had a really awesome experience because this works on the physical, emotional, mental, and etheric bodies. She had an extraordinary experience. She started to see herself differently, and others began to see her differently. She no longer looked plain in the eyes of others, but she looked like her business partner's twin, and her business partner is movie star beautiful. I can go on and on and on with all the different possibilities, but they're endless. As a matter of fact, there are, I'm sure, quite a few that I haven't even experienced yet, because this work just has no limit to what's possible. So if you are watching this video, you already know that I am a presenter at the Best of Mount Shasta. And I will be presenting on Sunday at 1 o'clock. So I hope you will join me then. Thank you for joining us now. Bye-bye.